The Belgians are that serious about their beer that they've even dedicated a museum which boasts more than 20,000 bottles and 18,000 glasses of Belgian beer. Now, having heard about this, I am now determined to find out what goes behind enjoying a perfect glass of Belgian beer. And what better place to find out than the Belgian Beer Cafe Ostende in Adelaide. And who better to get tips from than the 2006 Australian Draft Master Coral. Hello.
Hello.
How many different types of beer do you have here?
Approximately 35 with the draft beers.
Gee, okay, and I hear there's a particular art to pouring the beer. Can you show us how it's done?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We've got 9 steps, and every time we pour a draft beer at the Belgian Beer Cafe, we go through every single one of these steps to make sure we get the perfect beer. So we start with the perfect glass. We've got the Stella Artois glass because we're pouring Stella Artois today. We need to make sure that even though it has gone through the dishwasher, we need to make sure that we've got everything off of there, so any of the bar smells, everything. So we give it a good scrub, and then give it a nice rinse in some fresh, clean water. Being in Australia, we need to make sure we have a really cold glass for our beer. The next 3 steps go really fast. So what we do is we snap on the tap and let that first little bit drop down the drain. That's called a sacrifice. This is to ensure that any of that oxidised beer sitting in that tap doesn't affect the beer that the person's going to drink. Hold it on a 45-degree angle, fill up the glass, and we make sure that we're not touching the glass to the tap so that we're not dirtying the tap at all. We straighten up and let all that head come out. Scrape off all those big bubbles so they don't affect our head at all. Nice little bath so you don't get any beer in your hands. And there's a perfect Stella Artois.
With every perfect glass of Belgian beer, of course, comes the perfect Belgian brew, and Coral's going to teach us how to match your beer up with your food.
So we'll start off with an entree. We've got Bitterballen, and it's been matched to the Quack, which is actually a really sweet caramel beer, but it's really well balanced with an overall dryness and a bit of a lime characteristic. So it's not a sweet beer, it's nice and savoury with the dryness, and that matches really well with this dish. Then we'll move to the Moules Meunier, which is a very traditional Belgian dish. Big pot of mussels with butter, white wine, some celery and herbs. I've got that matched with our Orval, which is a really earthy Trappist beer. Works really well with seafood. Next we'll move on to the pork. Now the pork is served on a truffle mash, and we've matched that one up with a Duvel, which is a really dry, powerfully bitter ale. And it's got a slight hint of apples to it, so every time you have pork, you can think Duvel. The next is our Carbonade à la Flamande, which is a really, really big, ballsy beef stew. And they actually cook that with the left brun, so the left brun will always go perfectly with it. And last but definitely not least is our dessert, the Belgian waffles. And we match that one perfectly with a chocolate beer.
Great. Well, santé.
Santé.